So, what is the problem really with Ayn Rand, and why do so many people hate her? I was confused about this when I first read Rand. Stefan Molyneux, who was running Free Domain Radio, which was supposedly a philosophy conversation, he described it, and turned out to be a bit of a charismatic cult. And he turned out to be quite a cynical individual, but then, none of us are any good, so I don't blame him for that. But he introduced me to Rand and spoke very highly of her. And I think I think perhaps I'd already read Rand when I came to Molyneux. Perhaps it was vice versa. And I read Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead. And Anthem, I think, was the other one that she'd written. And I found them very interesting. I really liked her philosophy. She tore down the socialist construct so effectively. And I'd seen this all around me in Italy as the European Union was extended, and the part of Italy where I lived was fiercely left-wing, communist, in fact, originally. And I saw how the system was being used by cynical individuals to gain status and economic advantage while sort of polishing their halos almost. It was almost coincidental to their great crusade to spread fairness in society and to help this group and to help that group and to remove the oppression of women and all the rest of these things that are supposedly going on. And I thought Rand was great. I enjoyed her writing as well. She was quite inspiring. She is quite inspiring. If anybody hasn't read her, I would strongly recommend it. I went on to listen to many interviews with her. And of course, as time went on, I began to see the problems and I began to discover more about her life and her own shortcomings. We all have them. And she was certainly no exception. It was strange to me when I spoke to my wife, who was, still is, my ex-wife, I should say, who is a raging feminist and a very left-wing ideologue on paper anyway. But I thought, well, Rand she's my wife studied philosophy at university. And so she felt that she had title to speak with authority on the subject of philosophy, and she straightway informed me that Rand was not a philosopher at all, and just a joke in her opinion. It quite took the wind out of my sails because I'd been getting interested in philosophy thanks to Rand and then thanks to Molyneux. And I suppose I was listening to more right-wing philosophers, I don't know, although I went on to listen to all sorts of because it's podcasts. I didn't really read much. I did buy a couple of books, of the Greek philosophers and struggled through them a little bit, but I read a little bit here and there. And I understood the importance of philosophy. And so I was quite, enthusiastic about this field of inquiry. And I was basically told I was just wasting my time because I would never understand it because I hadn't studied it at university, which is what one needs to do. And then I discovered that the modern philosophers that are respected in the establishment or in the universities are just so irrelevant to my life and to all our lives. They're just playing glass bead games in a corner, really, and building themselves up and being clever and obscure and pushing postmodernist values and I had no interest in their work. But I did find some, philosophers that I enjoyed, and I would classify Rand as a philosopher. Of course, that's what she was. And as a woman, also, I thought, well, hang on a minute. Here's a movement which is trying to lift women up and to make sure that they get the recognition they deserve. And then, probably the the world's most famous female philosopher is just dismissed as nonsense. It was odd. But I suppose Rand wasn't speaking to the values of the woke agenda, of the left wing feminist agenda at all. She was somewhat opposed to those things. She thought that individuals should advance according to their personal merit, and it was quite an extraordinary idea really for the left at that time, and I think it still is. And then I went on to Amazon when I bought the books, and read found it very interesting reading the reviews, that they were so split between people who would give her one single star, lots of them, and people who gave them 5, lots of them. So she's divisive. So if somebody is divisive like that, I think it means that they're saying something of note, something important. And I found that with other writers also. You'll get that split. Sometimes I'm on the 1-star side, and sometimes I'm on the 5-star side, but generally there'll be something of interest. It's like Harry Potter. I mean, you could go and read Harry Potter. You could call J.K. Rowling a sort of philosopher, if you like. She's pushing rather arcane, satanic ideas. But if you go and look at her reviews on Amazon, I'm sure they're brilliant, most of them, but she'll have plenty of 1-star reviews from miserable people like me. And I haven't even read one of her books, so I wouldn't presume to give her a 1-star review. I'm sure she can't afford it. But it's odd, isn't it, the way that people hate Rand. I wonder whether anybody would like to comment on that, on their view of Rand's philosophy, the philosophical ideas. I thought she made some really great points in her books, and sort of enduring truths. She coming from Russia, I guess she was. I don't know, overwhelmed maybe by the socialist society that was unfolding in America when she arrived. But again, because she was an influential person, I have to assume that there was some interference in her life somehow. They use these characters. Whether Rand was aware that she was being used, I doubt it. But of course, she became quite uplifted in her later life, after she became famous, really, and started behaving in a very dictatorial fashion that was absolutely reprehensible. And so that shocked me to see it. But I think her writings are great, and I very much enjoyed them. It's an odd thing, isn't it? I've just been reading some reviews of somebody dared to quote a Rand sentence on the Creative Writers Forum, which I'm subscribed to on Facebook, but I don't participate in it really. I daren't. And the quote from Rand was a perfectly reasonable philosophical principle, the sort of thing that Jordan Peterson could say without any trouble at all. And of course, that man is rational. You can't, you might not like what his conclusions are. But it was an interesting quote, and it was, certainly not a lightweight thing. And the comments were almost universally negative. I think actually universally negative. I might go and put a positive comment on it just for the heck of it, because why not? But at the same time, I'm just going to get a load of abuse. So, but it's weird, isn't it, the way that those things go on? It certainly showed me that the Creative Writers Forum. One of the reasons I don't like it is because it has a kind of an underlying woke agenda. Everything does these days. And interestingly, I mean, I think Rand would have been originally a Christian. Certainly, she would have had a Christian upbringing. She was Russian, and although she didn't follow religion particularly, I think she had a sense of the divine, and I think you can see it in her writings. God bless.